Not long after he spat out the dark blood, Hector came around. Although his body was weak, it was a miracle that he'd made it. As for Peter, when he saw Hector regain consciousness, he admitted defeat and apologized to Dustin sincerely. He said that he'd been foolish to underestimate the power of traditional medicine and that he'd resign from his position after returning to his country to start learning traditional medicine instead. Dustin decided to let the man be. After all, Peter may be a proud man, but the sincerely respected those who were stronger than him. The rest of the Harmon family also resumed their activities after making sure that Hector was fine. Quentin, however, made sure to glare at Dustin on his way out. "How are you feeling? Dad? Are you in pain anywhere?" Ruth walked over to the bed, holding a glass of warm water. "I'm fine. I just feel slightly bloated." Hector took 2 sips. "Duh. Look at the blood you threw up. It's full of maggots," Ruth told him, shaken. "Huh?" Hector looked down and frowned. "What's this?" "Dustin said you were poisoned by mystic poison. If it weren't for him, you'd still be unconscious right now," Ruth explained. "Dustin?" Hector glanced around before noticing Dustin standing beside him, his expression turning troubled. "I didn't expect you to save me. It's still too early to celebrate. Although I've gotten rid of the venomous curse, you aren't in the clear yet," Dustin told them bluntly. "What do you mean?" Hector frowned. Mystic poison is a combination of witchcraft and parasitic poison. The parasitic poison has been cleared, but the witchcraft issue remains. Dustin explained. "Then what should we do?" Hector asked. "Simple. I just need to treat you once per day for the next 5 days, and you'll recover," Dustin said. "I see." Hector nodded and asked, "How much will each treatment cost?" "I don't want money. I just need you to promise me something," Dustin bargained. "What is it?" "I hope you can annul the engagement between the Harmon family and the Grant family." Dustin's reply was astonishing. "Annul the engagement?" Hector frowned. "Never. To tell you the truth, Mr. Harmon, I'm the only one who can save your life. I think trading that marriage for your life is a good deal," Dustin said with a small smile. "Are you threatening me?" Hector narrowed his eyes. "I wouldn't dare. I'm merely making a request. My answer won't change." "Never." Hector's attitude was firm. "I can tell you that it doesn't matter if you treat me. The marriage will still commence." "Aren't you scared of dying?" Dustin frowned. "What's there to fear? Everyone has to die eventually. The only thing different is the timing." Hector answered calmly. "I guess you are different. No one would think about death so calmly." Dustin sighed. He had his doubts when he heard what Ruth said earlier, but after speaking with Hector, he was now sure that the older man was not afraid of death at all. Stubborn men like Hector were always the hardest to deal with. "It's pointless to butter up to me now. Tell me how much money you want for saving me today, and forget about everything else." Hector stated icily. "You don't have to pay me. I did what I needed to. I just want to see Natasha." Dustin gave in. "Why do you want to see her? You should know that there's no future for you two," Hector warned. "Even if there isn't, there's nothing wrong with meeting a friend, right? Besides, Mrs. Harmon already agreed to this earlier." Dustin replied. "Huh." Hector turned around and looked at Jessica, who reluctantly said, "You were in critical condition, so I became desperate and told him that as long as he's able to treat you, I'll let the 2 of them meet." "That's fine. Your intentions were good." Hector didn't get angry but responded calmly instead. "I agree to let you 2 meet, but you'd better not mess around. I'll have someone watching you." "Got it?" "Yes." Dustin agreed immediately. "Ruth, lead him to your sister," Hector instructed. "Okay," Ruth chirped. Natasha has been waiting for this chance for ages, and today, the 2 would finally get to meet. "Oh, that reminds me." Before leaving the room, Dustin halted and turned his head around. "Mr. Harmon, mystic poison isn't a simple issue. The person who poisoned you probably has more in store. Be careful of those around you." "Got it." Hector nodded. He has always lived in seclusion, so it wasn't easy to poison him. It was also worth noting that tomorrow was the annual family gathering. As the head of the family, Things would be thrown into chaos should others find out that he had fallen ill. Therefore, it was hard not to have suspicions when the timing at which things were happening was so precarious. "Jessica, who do you think poisoned me?" Hector asked all of a sudden. "Besides the Dark Lord, I can't think of anyone else who is skilled at the mystic arts and holds a grudge against our family." Jessica responded in a serious tone. The mysterious and powerful Dark Lord has always been a thorn in their side. The Harmon family has invested in countless men to get rid of him over the years, but their efforts proved to be futile. Every year, core members of the Harmon family would mysteriously end up dead, and each time, clues would point to the Dark Lord as the culprit. It was safe to say that one man alone had made the entire Harmon family restless, and mentally. "Yes, he's the only one." Hector sighed tiredly. "Unfortunately, we can't do much since he continues to hide in the dark. That's why I have no choice but to force Natasha to marry into the Grant family." "I understand." Jessica sighed as well. "We can only use the Grant family's power to deal with the Dark Lord if Natasha marries Tyler. Or else, our entire family will be doomed. I feel so sorry for Natasha. She has to sacrifice herself for our family." Hector looked remorseful. As a father, there was nothing he wished more than his children's happiness. Alas, some things were beyond his control. "Natasha is a good girl. She'll understand why you're doing this," Jessica consoled him. "I hope so." Hector sighed again. Suddenly, he thought of something and asked, "What do you think of Dustin? He's a genius who's skilled in both medicine and martial arts. He might be the best among his peers in Millsburg. Unfortunately, he still has a long way to go before competing with Tyler Grant." Jessica gave her honest opinion. After knowing Dustin longer, she finally changed her opinions about him. However, because of his family background, there was still a gap between them. "I wouldn't mind making him our son-in-law if Natasha wasn't promised to another. Unfortunately, they were just not meant to be," Hector muttered, troubled. "Try your best to help him from now on. We owe him that much." "I understand," Jessica nodded. The marriage between the two families had been set in stone, so it was a pity that the fated pair could never get together.